Hello everyone, I'm Alex of Vending Machine Support. In this video, I'm going to show you how to adjust your nut assembly for your T-handle found in many types of drink vending machines. This is going to be useful when you're closing the door on your drink vending machine and you start screwing in the T-handle, but the T-handle's not grabbing the nut inside the machine. It very well could be that that nut assembly needs to be adjusted. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, if you found this video useful, I appreciate if you could like and subscribe. If you have any questions, ideas, or comments, please leave them below. And make sure you hit that notification bell. Let's get started. Now, I've had this issue come up time and time again, specifically when working on used equipment or when a customer's purchased a used machine or a machine that's come off a location, is just where the T-handle is not grabbing the nut when the door is closed and you start screwing in that T-handle. Now, you will need some tools to be able to make this adjustment, so I'll link to a video above about the top 5 tools you should have on hand. But the problem here is on this Dixie Narco 501E, and this is going to be relevant as well as a Vendo drink vending machine as well as a Royal drink vending machine. They both have nut assemblies that can be adjusted. But the problem is, I'm going to close this door on this machine. I'm going to start turning this T-handle. Now, no matter how long I turn this T-handle, it's not grabbing the nut. I can actually feel it not grabbing the nut. And the problem here, again, is more than likely, keep this door open here, this nut assembly right here actually is not adjusted correctly. There are 3 bolts on this 501E here that allows you to adjust this nut assembly up or down to mate up with the T-handle shaft. Now, it can be a bit tricky to make those adjustments because how can you see where you need to adjust it? So obviously, when the door is closed, you can't see the nut. Now, you can sit here on the side and kind of make some guesswork, but what about actually making the adjustments? So I'm going to show you a little trick that I've always used to make these adjustments, and it does require some work. What I like to do is I actually remove the inner door. This door right here on this machine, inner door here, can be removed. And if we remove this door, and then I'm going to remove the dollar bill acceptor, this is going to give me a clear sight line to the T-handle and the nut, and then I can reach my arm in and make the adjustments to get it adjusted correctly. So let's get started on that. First thing we do here is I'm going to go ahead and remove the dollar bill acceptor. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this dollar bill acceptor. Now, I've got the power off on the machine. I'm going to go ahead and take this dollar bill acceptor off. So I'm going to take an 11/32 socket, and I got 2 nuts down here at the bottom. I'm just going to go ahead and loosen. I'm not going to take these nuts all the way off. I'm just going to loosen them. And then on the right-hand side here, there's another nut. So I'm going to go ahead and take the bill box off. This might actually be able to see a little bit better. Now, this is a Mars VN dollar bill acceptor. Now, your bill acceptor may be a bit different, but there's a nut over here on this side. I'm going to go ahead and remove that nut completely. Now, with that nut removed, I'm going to go ahead and very gently pull the dollar bill acceptor out. And I'm going to go ahead and unplug the harness and set this aside. Now, I've left the 2 nuts here because this kind of helps hold the bill acceptor in place when you go ahead and mount it back up. So I'm just going to go ahead and tuck this harness away. Now with the dollar bill acceptor removed, I now have a nice hole in the front of the door that I'm able to work through in order to get to that T-handle nut assembly. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove the bottom hinge on this inner door on this Dixie Narco 501E, and that's going to be held on by 3 screws. So I'm going to go down to the bottom here. What I do is I like to close the door, and I'll use the T-handle to kind of hold the door in place while I work these screws off. Now, the screws here are going to be on the bottom right-hand side, so I'm going to go ahead and get these removed. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to prop my knee up on the door, the inner door, to kind of hold it in place, and I'll start working on getting these screws undone here. Now, on the Dixie Narco 501E, there are 2 screws that have nuts on them, and so you just want to make sure you grab the nut on the back side. Again, it's an 11/32 nut. And I'm going to go ahead and get the other one here. And I'm going to remove the retaining screw. And once this is loose here, pull out the bottom hinge. And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to head and grab the inner door. I'm just going to take it off of the T-handle like that. And then here the inner door is completely removed from the machine. Now, one thing to keep in mind, there is a washer or bushing that goes into the top of the inner door, so make sure you don't lose that. So now I've got this inner door completely removed. I'm going to go ahead and set this off to the side. And now this is going to give me great access to be able to see the T-handle nut there on the machine. Now here we are looking into the front of the machine through the hole the dollar bill acceptor was. And since we removed the inner door, we can look directly into the cabinet. There's column number 1, and over here is our nut assembly for our T-handle, this whole piece here, and this is the actual end of our T-handle. So if I was to push on the door to try to close it, you'll see that the threaded shaft of the T-handle is hitting too low. So I am going to need to make an adjustment of this nut assembly. I need to adjust this down some. Now I've got 3 bolts here. 1, there's 2, and there's 3rd one on the back side here. Loosen those and I should be able to slide this up or down for the correct adjustments. Now these are 7/16 bolts on a Dixon Arco 501E. On a Royal or a Vendo, that may be a different size. Again, I'll link above and in the description the video I have about the top 5 tools you want to have on hand whenever servicing your vending machines. I'm going to go ahead and loosen these bolts with that 7/16 socket. Here, loosen the bottom one. All right, and loosen the back side one. All right, so that's got plenty of play to be able to move this up and down. So here we can do is I'm going to close the door back up, close the door, and then I'm going to reach into the hole and lift, either push up or down on this assembly to get the T-handle, turn the T-handle, lock it in place, and then I'll tighten down one nut and hold it in place and come back and lock everything down. Okay, so now that I got that nut assembly loose, you can see, actually, it goes right in there. So right where it's at is actually the perfect spot for it. So I wouldn't need to adjust it now. If it was like that, I'll hit the bottom of it. But I can adjust this. So let's say yours was need to be adjusted up. You just want to go ahead and you can reach in here. All right, and I'm trying to do it so I don't block the camera, but if you reach in here, you can make the adjustments while you're trying to get the T-handle locked in place. So that's in place perfect right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn the T-handle to get the threaded shaft to lock into place. And it's just pulling in. And then now, with the T-handle locked into the nut, I'm going to tighten down this top bolt here. So I'm going to go ahead and cinch this bolt down, which will hold the assembly in place, and then I can open the door back up and tighten the rest of the bolts down. So this, with that hole, allows me to reach in here and tighten this down. All right, so I've got that cinched down. So now if I was to unlock or undo the T-handle, and I'll open the door back up and go ahead and tighten the rest of the nuts down. So I'm gonna go ahead and cinch the rest of these down now that I've got the assembly in place where I need it to be. There's that one. Go ahead and do the back one here. Now that I've got that locked into place, I'm going to go ahead and make another test to make sure that the door closes correctly. So I get everything locked down in place. I'm going to go ahead and close the door and see if that threaded shaft lines up with that nut. Perfect. And now when I close the door, nice and smooth. So that's perfect. It's exactly the way I wanted it. Now that I got that nut assembly tightened down, I'm going to go ahead and reattach the inner door. So I'm going to go ahead and slide it onto the upper hinge up here, and then I'm going to hang the left-hand side of the inner door onto the T-handle shaft and kind of use it as a balance where I can get down here and put in the bottom hinge. So the trick here is, this is the tricky part. So I'm going to go ahead and get the inner door slid onto the nut here. So I'm going to lift this up. got that latched in and on this hanging. So here, I can have the door is just hanging there. So I've got it hanging on the T-handle, and I've got it on the hinge up here just barely. And then now I can get down to the bottom and lift it up to get the bottom hinge on. So I'm gonna take the hinge here, slide that, get that into the bottom of the inner door, lift up, and I'm gonna push up with my knee. So find that, there we are. And this is the first screw that goes in, and this is like the set screw. There's no nut on the back of the screw. This is kind of keeps everything in alignment here. All right, and it allows me to take my pressure of my knee off, and then I can put the remaining screws in place. Now with the bill acceptor back in place, we'll go ahead and close the door one last time to make sure everything lines up correctly. Then close the door, turn the T-handle. That door is closing nice and easily. Now, if you found this video useful, I appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. If you have any questions, ideas, or comments, please leave them below. And I'll see you on the next video. Take care.